Welcome back to Next Level Rides. In today's episode, we're installing a methyl hydrate injection kit. And I say that for a specific reason. YouTube, please do not strike me. So stay tuned and we'll get started. So we're working on this 2008 BMW 535 rear wheel drive. The owner apparently doesn't like traction, so he decided to upgrade to Frankenturbo F21b turbos, I believe, and wants to make 500 plus wheel horsepower. So we're gonna figure out where we're gonna put it in the back of the trunk, and of course that being the tank. So we're gonna go to the workbench and I'm gonna show you what we got. So while Taylor starts on removing parts of the interior, hey, quiet down. So while Taylor starts by removing the interior panels, you're making it loud on purpose. I know you are. No, I'm not. Okay, anyways, so the owner ordered the 2-gallon stealth tank from BMS, and we have the pump here. We have a lot of the spicy sauce, and of course miscellaneous fittings. Because we didn't end up getting this, we just got this local. It's like 50 cents a foot or whatever it is. And then a bunch of fittings. So of course, because we wanted to plan for every scenario, we have a bunch of these fittings. And yeah, the more the merrier. So what I'm gonna start with is I'm gonna start by mounting the pump itself on the bottom here. So what I'll actually show you is on the bottom of the tank, it actually has a protrusion right here for the fitting. So you'll thread in the NPT fitting there, and that will connect to the one side of the pump. The pump will actually bolt in here, and then the opposite side, you'll kind of have to figure out exactly where you want it to run. So what I think is it's probably gonna snake up and through here or something. We'll figure it out. But this is an actual pretty solid, I guess, funny looking milk jug. So they make it out of high density polyethylene, so it's not gonna leak. It's not gonna permeate, stink, or anything. And I think I think that's what this is. I think he got a billet cap. So we'll get rid of this one. We'll throw on the billet one. And my understanding is the billet one has a one-way valve, so it will not allow the methanol to evaporate. What in the hell? The one-way valve is not a one-way valve. Maybe it just needs a little pokey poke to actually move. There we go. Okay, so we'll put a little bit of thread sealer, we'll twist that on there and throw the cap in. Okay, come for a trip with me. As Taylor's gonna stuff the hose up through there. So what the plan is, we're gonna have the meth tank around here, the hose will go right up there. Now you need to run a wire, so as Taylor's gonna show us, all you do is just put the wire in a couple pieces of tape so it doesn't get caught. So it's gonna go through there, it's gonna go up and through here, right up and through here, and then we're gonna go to the front, same thing. So it's gonna go through here, and then it's gonna come up the...
Watch out, old man walking.
Shut up, Taylor! Somewhere under here. Somewhere. So we might need to take the cowl off, but essentially it's gonna poke all the way through here and then plug into the charge pipe, and then the FSB is gonna go in the box with the JB4. Yes, good? Good, all right. Now I'm gonna go kick Taylor. All right, let's test fit this. Okay, so I'm just gonna measure the ground wire. I think I'm gonna mount it right to chassis ground right there. Oh, let me check actually. You know what? This chassis ground right here with this Torx, the T35 or whatever, that's looking mighty nice. So we're gonna connect the battery there and let's test this ground here. So that's good. At the taillight's good, surprisingly. Or at the amp bracket. So after I figured out exactly where we're gonna put the ground, I extend the wires on the bench since it's gonna be the easiest for soldering. And of course, after you solder it, you just use a little bit of shrink tube just to ensure that it has a nice proper connection. Now, Afterwards, we start by putting the tubing from the actual tank to the pump, just to get prepared for when we go to place it just inside the vehicle. Now once we get back inside the vehicle, I had a little bit of spare loom that I wrapped around the actual methanol line, just because it was getting a little bit closer than I would like to some sharp objects, and some sharp brackets just in behind the actual paneling. So once we put the tank inside the trunk, we will end up soldering the power wire here, and then get it put into position. Now the molding itself, or this little, I guess, glove box, whatever they want to call it, I drilled a little hole just so the wiring and the tubing could come up and make a gradual loop so there wouldn't be any kinks or bends once we have it in place. And of course, because of where we're putting it, if he wanted to actually slide it around, he has enough space to do so. All right, so we got the tank mounted. We ended up putting these bolts right through all 3 layers. So rubber, carpet, and particle wood. We have it poking out here. That should be okay. There's enough slack if we have to lift it up if it needs to get to the spare tire. So yeah, that's not gonna go anywhere. So now that we're done with the trunk setup, we're moving on to the engine bay. So while Taylor starts to play with the DME box to unlock it to get access to the JB4 wires, I start by mounting the solenoid and getting the lines run to the nozzle. Now the nozzle itself, we're going with a BM10 nozzle, and it's just a right angle connection right off the charge pipe. So it's a fine line between using a little bit of thread tape or thread sealant and having it turn in an appropriate fashion, just so it ends up pointing up and lining up nicely. Afterwards, we're gonna start by soldering the wires. Now, the one soldered wire will actually go over to the JB4 box to connect to the JB4 with a separate solenoid. The second wire will actually just be a chassis ground. You don't need to worry about which wire goes where, just because it ends up completing a circuit. So afterwards, I go over to the JB4. Now, we did have to wait until the next day or the day after to get some pins to term the connections. On a 1 series and a 5 series, you'll need to put some bullet style connectors, kind of like a serial connector. And once those are in, you pin the harness and then you plug it back into the JB4 box itself. Okay, so kind of left everything in a bit of a time lapse. So I'm gonna go over everything and show you exactly what we did to kind of bring you up to speed, because we ended up doing a lot that I didn't exactly explain. So first things first, there's the hose and the wire here, and it goes all the way down. So I made a little bracket for the solenoid. Now there's 2 wires off here. One will go to the ground, which is here, and the other one goes up and over to the DME box with the JB4. So this hose is disconnected for now. Thanks, Milwaukee. So this one's disconnected right now, only because we're gonna put a hose in here to do the purge. Now when we purged it, we noticed that it was leaking at the back, so we're just gonna make sure it's not leaking. So from here, the wires run up and around here. It's a black wire, so we tucked it really nice. It'll be under the cowl. And then of course on this side, you'll see just the wire right up here. So the 2 wires down to the DME. The FSB is right over here. All the wires are connected. JB4 is right beside it. The red power wire, what I did is I pulled the connectors out here and I soldered it directly to the main red power harness for the JB4 itself. And then ground is right to here. So that's it, nice and tidy. You'll be able to close the box. It'll just close because these are just little rubber here. And a little rubber right there too. So when the JB4 lid is closed, you won't see any of the wires. And other than that, you can maybe see the clear tubing for the methanol nozzle. And other than that, it's run to the back. There's the tank that you had seen, and we'll purge it and see if it's leaking. So for purging the system, the JB4 interface actually has in the methanol setup a button that you can use to purge the system. So what I do is I end up taking the hose outside of the solenoid itself into a bottle. And while somebody goes inside the vehicle to turn the ignition on, they hit the purge button, and eventually water methanol will come out right through into the bottle. When we go to the back, we're going to be mixing it a little bit spicier than normal. Typical is a 50-50 mix of 50% methyl hydrate and 50% distilled water, but we're going to do roughly a 70-30 just for a little bit more octane while it's a little bit cooler here, so the water will still have a cooling effect. But with the temperatures getting cool, the octane is more important since we're going to be running 24 psi. After that, all we're going to do is just button it up because we know it purges properly and the lines are proper, and we're ready to get it tuned. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up and take it for a quick drive and test and tune. So nothing else to really show you. So as always, feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Say bye, Emilia. Now I need to find, is the pen light?
I have no idea where it is. Sorry, camera.
It's not recording.
Okay.
We're not color coding anything here. We're using white for the ground with green shrink tube. I act like I know what I'm doing. It'll probably be like, with this DA and everything, it'll be like 550 wheel, roughly. It's gonna get sketchy.
I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Woo! Bless you. Whoa! One more for the people in the back. No?
No.